Hello everyone. Today I've got 3 more exciting horror books for you as always, ones that you want to read. And as a reminder, I have horror books for sale, and you can find all those books. You can buy them as an ebook, you can buy the physical paperback copy, or if you have Kindle Unlimited, you can read them for free over on the Zon. And I have links down below if you want to do that, and if you want to buy them directly through me in PDF or EPUB form, there's a link down below where you can do that as well. And if you want to join my Patreon, you'll get all those for free. And once again, every month I upload 5 free books from other horror authors every month for your Kindle. So if that's something you're interested in, you can join my Patreon and you get a bunch more stuff in the month as well. All right, let's get started. So the first book I want to talk about today is called Repression. This one is great because it mixes a good, creepy ghost story with a kind of twisty and turny serial killer murder mystery. And it does all those in a very unique way, something you've never read about before in that genre, you know, of ghosts and hauntings and things. It's about a woman. She moves to a town, and she's moving into a place because it's affordable, but she has to share the house with a guy, and he lives in the basement of the house. He kind of keeps to himself. They don't really see much of each other. She has all the upper floor all to herself. He has his own little room in the basement and all that. She's friends with an old woman who lives next door, and this old woman, she lost her teenage son a few years ago to a hit-and-run accident that killed him. So she's been kind of grieving her son ever since. But her and our protagonist are friends. They hang out together and other things, right? One day the woman comes home to her house, and this is where the story starts taking a twist, because you rarely see the main protagonist of a story this early on gets murdered. She gets murdered as she steps into her own house. But her story continues because she's going to like the spirit world, which is kind of still set where she lives. But in this world, there's only 2 people. There's her, and then there's the spirit of a 15-year-old boy who happens to be the son of the old woman next door that she's friends with. So he's been hanging around there 15 years, but he's been hanging around there as a 15-year-old all this time, but he has no way to communicate with his mother or anything else. And he's kind of almost shocked to see this woman here as a ghost. And it's weird because there's only the 2 of them, and you think if this is a spirit world there'd be more, but there's a reason for that, and you're going to read about that. That's one of those neat little revelation-y little twists in there. But of course the 15-year-old, he's kind of like a typical 15-year-old. He's kind of surly, and he knows things, but he's not really being forthcoming with her. He doesn't know where she's coming from. He's been hanging around by himself in this world where he can see everything like in his neighborhood, but he can't break through a bubble or a veil of some kind to get to his mother. So he's kind of surly, given the fact that he's also a ghost, and he's aware he's a ghost. He's aware he was killed. He's just an angry young man. But they're going to have to find a way to work together, because eventually they are both going to notice another woman, another perhaps spirit, and they are going to find a way to manipulate this world they're now in and kind of go back to this other woman and see how she was also murdered, because there is a serial killer in the area. And come to find out, all 3 of them might be connected to this one guy. So they are going to have to do their best to try to solve this mystery, solve this murder mystery from beyond the grave. And in the meantime, there's something going on in their world with this veil or this bubble or this spiritual covering that they can't seem to get out of. And they're going to have to learn how to manipulate that world to do certain things to make sure that they can solve this mystery of how they all died. There's the woman and the boy, and then this other woman who they discover later, and they're going to be able to see and feel exactly what happened and how she was murdered, and they have to try to find the guy that did it along the way. And and there are some very creepy things going on in the meantime with this world they're in, and you're going to have to read about that. But this thing is, like I said, it is really creepy. You got all that atmosphere of the ghost story. You have the murder mystery, the serial killer in town. And I like it because the main protagonist dies right at the beginning. You don't see that much in horror books, And then everything she does is going to have to be from beyond the grave. Let's put it that way. And this one is great. Of course, I highly recommend it. And there's a link in the description where you can pick up your copy. And next we have Good Boy. This is again a debut book from this author. And if you don't know, Neil is also the host of my favorite horror fiction podcast, where he interviews a lot of authors and gets into some deep conversations with them. Talking Scared. If you're not aware of Talking Scared Pod, check it out on all your, wherever you get your podcast. He's the host of this, and this is his first book, and it's called Good Boy. And it's about a town, and a little boy disappears from a field one day. There's nothing except his some clothes and a backpack. He was there, and then he just disappeared. There's no clues. The police have nothing. No fingerprints, no DNA. There's nothing. He's just gone. And a woman who lives close to that field is looking out her window one day, and she sees a man at night by the tree where this boy's stuff was found, and he's digging a hole. Well, you can imagine what goes through her mind. The disappearance of the boy, and then there's this man at night in inclement weather digging a hole by the tree where the boy disappeared from. It seems suspicious. But she's going to go out there and talk to him. And when she does, she's going to realize that he's not nefarious. The bag he has by him that he's obviously burying does not contain the boy's body parts. It contains the body of his beloved dog. His dog, who's been with him most of his life, has passed away. And there's a story about why he's digging underneath that tree in that area to bury the dog. He seems sincere, so she invites him back to her home because she wants to hear his story. It seems like he has a lot on his mind, and the rest of this book, he is going to tell her and us as the reader his story about not only his dog, but about this field and this area, because there is a creature there. There is something evil attached to that field. And that boy is not the first one that has ever gone missing in strange circumstances from that field. Let's put it that way. And his dog has a lot to do with the outcome of this story. Even though the dog is deceased, when we read the book, you're going to see why it's called Good Boy, because this dog is a very good boy. He's also might not be a natural dog. Okay? Let's put it that way. But we're going to hear this man's story about how he came to get the dog, about different evidence and things he has about the disappearances, how he actually confronted at one point the thing that was taking the kids from that area and how it affected him and how he escaped. And so he knows things. And this one is very, very creepy. It's got the creature feature element, this supernatural creature that snatches kids, and it's a very, very terrifying thing. Wait until you read about those sections. This thing is horrifying. But it's also got a lot of heart. It's got a lot of emotion behind it because this was a very good boy. This was a very good dog. And but you're going to find out that even though it might sound sad because he's dead, and it is, the dog passed away, but he's kind of the hero of the story, and you're going to read all about that. Yeah, this one is absolutely excellent. It's one of those, once you start reading it, man, you don't want to put down. You just want to read it all the way through. And I absolutely loved it. Of course, I highly recommend it. And there's a link in the description where you can pick up your copy. And next we have The 13th Coyote. Now we're going to go back a few years for this one. But this one is just a full-on noirish Western horror with some incredibly horrific villains. And it's got that Wild West feel, and it's got a lot of blood and a lot of gore, a lot of really, really disturbing scenes in there of the violence these men perform. And it's about a group of, basically they're vampires. But they're a gang that has a reputation in the West. Everybody knows about the Coyotes, spelled with a K, the Coyotes. And this gang is trying to recover an object that will increase their power, that will give them the powers of hell, basically. It's a deal with the devil. If they can find this thing, they will be imbued with the power from hell itself, and they will be able to take over the world. And in this small little western town, there's a church that's trying to protect this thing that they need. But in the meantime, this group called the Coyotes, they have incredible powers, like extrasensory powers, like they can, because they are part werewolves. I'm sorry, yeah, I said vampires before. They are part werewolves. And so they can smell really good. They can sense each other. They can smell things in other people, their fear and their loathing and their anger. And so they were tracking this artifact down to this town. And in the meantime, you have a group of people in this town who are not going to have that, who are trying to stop them, including somebody who once belonged to this group. And he's a bad man. He used to be a really vicious, violent man, just like the rest of them. But he's trying to change his ways. But he's still a coyote. He is still a werewolf. But he's controlling his urges to the best of his ability, although that violence is still in him. So he's not necessarily a good guy in the traditional sense, but he left the group and he will do whatever it takes to stop them from gaining this kind of power. And you have a whole other cast of characters that are going to help him along the way. But this group, these coyotes, man, they are truly some of the most vicious, despicable, bad guys, villains you'll ever read about in a horror book. And they have no redeeming qualities whatsoever. You're going to see scenes in here about some of their exploits in detail, and there's a lot of sexual assault. There's a lot of murder for no reason, and they'll even tell you, no, we don't have to kill you, but we're going to because we can, and it's fun for us, and then we're going to eat your guts, basically, right? That's the kind of people, if you cross these guys, chances are you're not going to live. And now they're making a beeline for this town, and some people in the town get together, and they are going to try to stop them, but it's going to turn into a bloodbath. This is like a splattery, gory Western horror, but it's also got all that great Western vibe, and it's got the great characters, you can determine for yourself if these characters are good or bad, but even the worst ones in this town are not as bad as these coyotes. Let's put it that way, because these guys are depraved, and you're going to read all about that. It's it gets you, man. I'm telling you, this is one of those books where you'll just cringe sometimes at what you're reading because it's so disturbing, you know, in that good horror way, of course, because you want to keep reading. And yeah, there's a lot of action, there's a lot of bloodshed, there's a lot going on, and of course, there are a couple twists and turns in here that are going to change the way you feel about certain things along the way, so you want to prepare yourself for that as well. But yeah, I absolutely love this one, and yes, I highly recommend it. And there's a link in the description where you can pick up your copy. And as always, I want to say thank you for taking some of your time and spending it here with me. And until we meet again, keep reading spooky, my friends.